Good morning, children. Once again, I'm before you with my series of storytelling. And yesterday in the video, I did with the first part of the chapter Lost Spring. That was sometime I find Europe in the garbage. Today, I would discuss the second part of the story, that is, I want to drive a car. But yesterday, in the first video of mine, what I missed is discussing something about the title, because it's really important to discuss the title first and then to go further into the chapter, which I really missed. So today first I would discuss the title, The Lost Spring. So children, we need to understand that how is this title justified for the chapter. So yes, the title is fully justified for the chapter, and the name of the title is Lost Spring. So spring, it's one of the six seasons that we have in our country, and even it is there in the rest part of the world also. So spring season is called the king of all the seasons. That means spring season is really very important of all the seasons. Even all seasons are equally important, but when it is compared with other season, then we find that spring season is the best of all the seasons. Similarly, even a person's life can be divided into so many stages. There is childhood, there is adolescence, there is adulthood, there is manhood, when a person's fully becomes matured, and then the old age. I mean, in different myth, in different tradition, even different writers. Even I know, remember that even Shakespeare has divided in one of his poems, and he has divided a man's life into seven stages. So, not going further into all this. So, of all the stages of a man's life, the childhood stage is the best stage, and the stage into which you people are. And I think you need to understand, and all we know that why this stage is the best stage in a person's life, because these are the years of formative years. Here you learn the manners, you imbibe the qualities, you become learned, and that's why this childhood stage is called the best stage in a person's life. Now in the story The Lost Spring, we have two chapters, two different small stories. The first is Sometime I Find Rupee in the Garbage, and second is I Want to Drive a Car. And in both the stories we find the main character are two children. In the first chapter, in the first part, that is I Sometime I Find a Rupee in the Garbage, the main character is the Sahabe Alam, and he is also a very young boy. In the second chapter, in the second part, I Want to Drive a Car, there is again a young boy, and his name is Mukesh. Now we see that, as I have already narrated you the first part, so there we see that Saib Alam is actually not living his childhood, and he has to go out, and he has to be means in the survival of the family. That's why both the small stories deals with those children who have lost their childhood. They are in no way living their childhood. They are not enjoying their childhood. They are not getting even the basic facilities which other children get, and that's why we see that these children, they have lost the spring season of their life. They have lost the best phase of their life, that is childhood, and hence we can say the title Lost Spring is fully justified for the chapter. So this was something I have discussed about the title. Now let us go into the storytelling of the second part of the chapter, that is called I Want to Drive a Car. The main character is Mukesh, and Mukesh insists on being his own master. He announces that he will be a motor mechanic. But when he is asked if he knows anything about a car, he looks straight into the eyes of Anis Jung, and he says that he will learn to drive a car. The kind of dream he has into his eyes, his dream looms like a mirage amidst the dust of the street that fills his town. his town Firozabad, famous for bangle makings. Firozabad is the center for glass blowing industry where generations have spent sitting around furnaces, welding glasses, and making bangles for the women of the country. Now, Mukesh family is one such family, and there are some 20,000 different children who slog their daytime hours losing the brightness of their eyes. They work in stingy cells where there is no ventilation and there is high temperature, and eventually they lose the eyesight of their eyes. Now, these children hardly they know that children of their age working in such business is something illegal, but they have to do it because there is no other option. Mukesh offers and is young to take to his house. They pass through stinging lanes chalked with garbages, and all around their house, which have one thing very common. All the houses they have crumbling walls, wobbly doors, no windows, where animals and humans they exist together. Now Mukesh come to his house. He bangs the wobbly iron door with his feet and takes Anna's young inside. There we find that there is a woman who is very frail physically. She is sitting and she seems to be cooking something. She is cooking spinach put in a big vessel, and the ovens she is using, that is wood fed oven, and the smoke that continuously comes out of it makes that woman go blind. She is Mukesh's brother's wife. There are some four members in the family. One is Mukesh himself, Mukesh's father, Mukesh's brother, and his wife. Now, when some elderly person comes into the house, his wife withdraws herself behind the wall, which is a kind of custom, and veil their face. Now, Mukesh's father is very happy that at least he has something over his head. But of all the earning that he has been doing, he has hardly managed to send his children to a school and to have got his house renovated. Mukesh's grandmother says that their business of bangle making is something which is destined and fixed by God, and it is never wise to break through the God fixed lineage. All around their house there are bangles of different colors, bangles of the sunny bright, golden color, green, paddy green, royal blue, pink and purple. Now there is a reference of another girl called Sabita. Now over the years into the business of bangle making, she has become so expert that her hands moves mechanically and she is busy into making bangles. Hardly knowing that bangle is a symbol of suhag, something that has to do with the auspiciousness of marriage. There sits a old lady. She is also doing the same thing, and Savita hardly knows that in few years, in the coming years, she will also get married the way that old lady has got married. Now, Anujang really wonders that these people all the time they work so hard, but still the quality of the life remains remains into the vicious circle of poverty, and they really never seems to come out of this poverty, and then she advises the people over there why they do not form some cooperative. Then one young man sitting there replies that if they ever try to make a cooperative, this would be termed illegal. They would be howled, beaten, and dragged into the jails. They talk of spiral, and they move from poverty to empathy to greed and to injustice. Now, Anis Jung finds two different worlds. One is the world of these bangle makers, and the other is the world of sahukar, middleman, policeman, bureaucrats, and politicians. And they have imposed the baggage to a child who cannot put it down, and before he becomes aware, he accepts the way their father have done. Because to do something would mean to dare, and dare is not a dare, would mean to do dare something, and to dare is not a part of their habit. But then there's a glimpse of light into the eyes of Mukesh, who seems of doing something, who dreams of doing something different. He tells that he wants to become a motor mechanic, and for that he will have to walk a long distance on his foot, and when he is asked if he has ever thought of flying a plane, so to this he looks down, being embarrassed. He does not reply anything, and he dreams of only becoming a motor mechanic because the cars hurls down the streets of his town, and there flies hardly any plane across the city of Firozabad. So this was a kind of story for the second part of the chapter Lost Spring, that is, I want to drive a car. So listen to my the narration storytelling once and twice, and then you go through the textbook, and I think you would totally understand it, and in this way also you can learn the art of storytelling. Thank you children, God bless you.